Public housing in Australia. What changed and why? Comprehensive Guide to Public Housing, Community, and Social Housing, featuring 2024 statistics and policy updates leveraging Australia's dollar sovereignty. Introduction. From stability to crisis. There was a time when public housing in Australia was a source of stability, dignity, and opportunity for hundreds of thousands of working families. After World War II, governments built homes on a massive scale, creating thriving communities and ensuring people could live securely without being crushed by rent or mortgage debt. Today, that vision has faded. Public housing stock has declined sharply, replaced in part by community housing providers and a housing market dominated by private investors. Waiting lists have grown, and housing has shifted from being a human right to a commodity. The change is not due to a lack of money. Australia's monetary sovereignty means the government can directly fund large-scale construction if it chooses. The question is whether there is the political will to do so. The problem: why Australians feel stuck. 1. The golden era of public housing. From the 1940s through the 1970s, Australia experienced its golden era of public housing. The Commonwealth State Housing Agreements, CSHAs, provided a framework for funding and building homes directly through public works departments. These homes were not just for the unemployed or disadvantaged. They were built for working-class families, giving them a secure, affordable place to live while they worked and raised children. Scale: hundreds of thousands of homes built across all states and territories. Quality: solid construction, often brick, designed to last decades. Affordability: rent set at reasonable levels, usually a fixed percentage of income. Public housing back then played a vital role in economic stability, ensuring that workers were not priced out of their communities. 2. The decline under neoliberalism. From the 1980s onwards, neoliberal policy shifts began dismantling the system. Governments sold off public housing stock, stopped building at scale, and began funneling public money into subsidies for the private rental market. Key features of the decline: stock sell-offs, large housing estates sold to private developers. Targeting: public housing redefined as housing of last resort for those with the highest needs. Funding changes: reduced direct investment in new builds. By June 2024, only 66% of social housing stock was public housing. The rest was community housing or other forms of non-market housing. The impact: what Australians are experiencing. 3. Rising social housing demand. The term social housing covers both public housing and community housing, all provided at below-market rent to eligible tenants. As of June 2024, total stock: 452,000 dwellings. Public housing: 298,000 dwellings, 66%. Community housing: 119,000 dwellings, 26%. Other categories: Aboriginal housing and state-owned, privately managed properties, 8%. What this means in practical terms. Imagine 100 social housing homes. 66 would be owned and managed by the government, public housing. 26 would be run by non-profit or community organisations, community housing. 8 would be other types, such as Aboriginal-owned housing or government-owned homes run by private managers. In the past, almost all 100 homes would have been public housing. Today, public housing makes up only about 2/3 of the total, with community housing taking a growing share. This shift means fewer homes are directly built and owned by the government, and more tenants deal with non-profits instead. Demand far outstrips supply. Waiting lists are often measured in years, not months. Some people remain in insecure private rentals for years while they wait for a social housing placement. 4. Growing role of community housing. Non-profits or housing associations manage community housing. These organisations may own the properties or manage them on behalf of the government. Growth has been rapid. In 2006, 100 community housing dwellings. In 2024, 119,000 dwellings, almost a fourfold increase. Community housing providers, CHOs, reinvest rental income into housing maintenance and expansion, but they operate under different rules than government-run public housing. Tenancies may be less secure, and rents can be slightly higher. While CHOs play an essential role, they cannot fully replace the stability and scale of government-built housing. The solution: what must be done? 5. Monetary sovereignty and public housing. Australia is a currency sovereign nation. It issues its own currency, which means it cannot run out of money to pay for projects in Australian dollars. The real limits are resource availability, skilled labour, and construction capacity, not the federal budget balance. Using monetary sovereignty, the government could directly fund large-scale housing projects, employ workers through public works programs, guarantee ongoing maintenance and upgrades. This is how public housing was funded during its golden era, and it remains possible today. 6. Policy actions for a fair housing future. A modern housing strategy should build at least 25,000 public homes annually to meet growing demand. Retain public ownership to ensure long-term affordability. Use community housing partnerships only when they increase net supply, not replace public stock. Integrate housing policy with healthcare, education, and transport planning. Adopt best practices from countries like Austria's Vienna model, where more than 60% of residents live in affordable public or cooperative housing. Case studies, lessons from the ground. Positive example, the Carlton redevelopment in Melbourne combined public and community housing with improved public spaces and services. Cautionary tale, the Millers Point sell-off in Sydney displaced long-standing residents and removed hundreds of public housing units from a system, showing the harm of prioritising asset sales over community stability. International comparisons. Many countries continue to invest heavily in government-built public housing or large-scale cooperative housing systems. These examples show that secure, affordable homes for all are not just possible, they are policy choices. Why this matters for Australia. If these nations can sustain high levels of publicly funded housing, Australia can too. The difference lies in political will, not financial capacity. With our monetary sovereignty, we can invest in building large-scale public housing without relying on private developers or waiting for market conditions to improve. Frequently asked questions. Question: what's the difference between public housing, community housing, and social housing? Public housing is owned and managed by the government. Non-profits manage community housing. Social housing is the umbrella term for both. Question: why did public housing decline in Australia? Neoliberal policies from the 1980s onward prioritised market delivery and asset sales over direct public provision. Question: can Australia afford to build more public housing? Yes. As a currency sovereign nation, Australia can fund housing directly without needing to raise taxes first. Final thoughts: reclaiming the right to a home. Public housing in Australia has moved from being a pillar of opportunity to a lifeline for the desperate. This shift is a political choice, not an economic necessity. By using our monetary sovereignty, we can once again guarantee that every Australian has access to a safe, secure, and affordable home. What's your experience? How has the decline of public housing in Australia affected you or your community? Share your thoughts below. Call to action. We'd love to hear from you. Inspired by this article? See what others are saying on our reader testimonials page. Please share your thoughts via our reader feedback form. Your voice helps shape future content. Scroll down and leave a comment below to join the discussion. If this article resonated with you, explore more on political reform and Australia's monetary sovereignty at Social Justice Australia. Spread the word. Please share this article with friends, family, or your social networks to keep the conversation going and help build a fairer, more just Australia. Email this to 3 friends who care about social justice and a fair go for all citizens. Keep independent journalism alive. Support voices that challenge the status quo. We are 100% reader-supported, no ads, no corporate strings, just honest, truth-driven journalism. If our work informs or inspires you, please chip in. Donate now, one time or monthly. Even $5 helps us keep publishing. Together, we are making change possible. Already donated? Share the love by leaving us a quick review on Google to help others find us. Engaging question. What's the first public investment you'd fund with Australia's dollar sovereignty? Housing, health, education, or green energy? References: Australian Institute of Health and Wellbeing, Housing Assistance in Australia, Social Housing Dwellings, Community Housing Industry Association, Community Housing Industry Profile 2025, Australian Bureau of Statistics, Census Data, Housing tenure and landlord type.